Count Bubba, how about for our soloist over here? John. And Joel on the trumpet. There you go. Count Bubba. Oh, such a great time. Oh yeah. We're going to take it next to the pen of Thad Jones, and this is one of the great tunes from the Thad Jones Mel Lewis Orchestra, and it lives on today as the Village Vanguard Orchestra. Anybody ever been there on a Monday night to check out that band? Well, you should go. It's pretty amazing, and it still has some of the best musicians in New York performing, and they play some of these tunes. They have new tunes, so it's a big catalog at this point. But they still play every Monday night at the Village Vanguard in New York City. It's this little tiny club shaped like a triangle. It has like some of the best sounding acoustics anywhere. And I got to hear them one time. Pretty amazing. And so in honor of Thad Jones, we're going to do our take of Us. And is this the trombone explosion? Yeah, it'll feature some trombones on this one. All right. Hope you're ready for Us. We'll open it up with Manny on the guitar here. you didn't know well, if you saw the show the other day, maybe you knew, but not every day you get 5 trombones playing in your direction at the same time, improvising independently. That's pretty exciting. We have time for one more. This has been so much fun at the Fiesta Jazz Festival. One more time, a big thank you to everybody helping us out here at St. Mary's University. Thanks to all of you for coming. Have Viva Fiesta! Viva Fiesta! And don't go anywhere because, of course, there's all kinds of music happening all day today, all day tomorrow. After we get done, the Trinity Jazz Ensemble will be performing, UTSA Jazz Ensemble, and then the combos and orchestra from here at St. Mary's University. Tonight, the world-class jazz concert featuring Mike Rodriguez and his ensemble. So there's a whole day of music. Get some of your pals out here and let's pack the house. So here's one more for you as we call it a day for our set. We're going to take it out with something by Stevie Wonder called I Wish.
applause.